as we are all living beings, I'm sure you have at least one embarrassing story. Whether it's something small or one of those major ones that makes your eyes open late at night in your bed and sweat buckets just by remembering it. Well, this story is the most embarrassing thing that I've ever done. I'll be doing some Arcane painting studies with gouache while I tell you the story, so if you want to, you can grab something to draw with or play this one in the background while you work because it's a doozy. Let's get started. Our story begins when I was 11 years old in the 6th grade. At the time, I was at an art middle school, and it was about halfway through the school year. By then, I was already very into the art program and worked a lot with my art teacher. I say this not to brag, but to establish the relationship I had with my art teacher. He was a wonderful guy and taught me so much. I had so many great memories working on big projects for his class. But one day, I ended up receiving help from him that I would never have imagined. Let me start by saying that kids have what I call poo brain. Sometimes as a kid, you rationalize things in your head that you think makes sense until an adult asks you why the heck you did the dumb thing you did. This is definitely one of those stories. So, in the morning before school, my mom would wake my sisters and I up so that we were ready. My older sister and I were currently in middle school, with me being in 6th grade and my sister being in 7th, but my younger sister was still in elementary school. So at the time, my older sister and I were responsible for being ready for the bus to pick us up, which conveniently stopped in front of my house. You'd think with the school bus coming straight to my door and me not having to meet at a bus stop, I had plenty of time to get ready for school. But alas, as I have stated before, I had a bad case of poo brain. I've always taken a while to officially load in the morning, so my dumb kid brain would get completely dressed and ready for school. Pants, shirts, socks, but no shoes. For some reason, my dumb kid brain thought that tying my shoes took too long. So I would put my sneakers in my backpack, run onto the bus, and then during my ride to school, I would take my time putting my shoes on. Dumb, I know. So, if you have any deduction skills, you can already glean where this story is about to take us. So, one morning, I run onto the bus, I get comfy, I open my backpack to find that my sneakers are in fact not in my backpack. I forgot to put them in there. The panic immediately sets in. We are way too far from my house to tell the bus driver that I forgot my shoes. That, and I was also incredibly embarrassed about the fact that I forgot them in the first place, that I was frozen in my seat and couldn't get up to tell her anyway. That, and I doubt that she was going to turn around for that with a whole bus full of other kids. So, my plan was, I needed to come up with a reason why I didn't have my shoes. So when I got off the bus, I didn't sound like a complete moron. Through sheer panic, I came up with a master plan. The bus pulls up to the school. I step off the bus, socks shining in the morning sun. My art teacher greets me since his morning duty was to assist kids coming off the bus. Before my teacher can even ask me why I don't have shoes on, I put my plan into motion. You might be asking yourself, Amanda, why don't you have your shoes on? Well, I have a story for you, Mr. Art Teacher. I stepped on glass, so I can't wear shoes. That's it. That's the best story my 11-year-old brain could come up with. That I stepped on glass, and for that reason, I cannot wear shoes. As you can imagine, my teacher looked at me very confused. He asked me a couple questions and then asked me to come with him. I thought, this is it. He's taking me to the front office. He's gonna call my mom and talk to the counselor. They're gonna lock me up for insanity. But instead, he took me to the place that I least expected, the cafeteria. I'm not sure why he did this. I usually didn't get school breakfast, but maybe he thought I needed to eat. Anyway, he took me in there and I had to walk through the cafeteria with no shoes on through the lunch line. My art teacher told the lunch ladies that I didn't have shoes on, and suddenly they started asking me tons of questions. To be fair, I think they thought I had something going on at home, and my poor mother did end up getting a phone call in the end while she was at work about how her daughter came to school with no shoes on. But they started brainstorming about how to help me. The lost and found didn't have any shoes that I could wear, so one of the lunch ladies decided to drive down to the closest Goodwill to see what they had there. I was absolutely mortified. At this point, I had involved so many people. I was standing on a cold, dirty cafeteria lunch line with no shoes on while all the adults had to figure out the mistake that one dumb kid had made. So one of the lunch ladies leaves to check the Goodwill, and I sit down at the cafeteria table with my teacher, with my now very dirty socks, feet crossed, doing my best to try and hide them from everyone's eyes. By then, I knew a couple people had heard my situation because they were going through the line at the cafeteria, but I had hoped that nobody in my grade or class heard. My teacher sat with me while I had my head down, embarrassed, eating some cereal. I explained the truth to him that I was just dumb and forgot my shoes. He kind of chuckled at me and then offered to try and make me moccasins if the lunch lady couldn't find me a pair of shoes. I gave him a very, very desperate answer of no. I couldn't imagine going through my school day with shoes that my teacher had made me. Middle schoolers are kind of brutal, and I didn't want anyone to know. Eventually, the lunch lady came back and found a bright red pair of sneakers for me. Initially, I was relieved because despite the fact that they stood out, it obviously was better to wear shoes than not. But unfortunately, they were too small for me. I had to curl my toes in and smash my feet in there to get my whole foot in, but that was a price that I was going to have to pay for my mistake. I could get through the day at least. Having eaten an extra breakfast and an even bigger serving of shame, I walked to my classroom a little bit after the bell rang with an excused late slip. I thought, I've done it. It all worked out. I'm in the clear. That was a bit of wishful thinking. As I entered the classroom and sat down quietly, the girl on the desk next to me leans towards me and says, "Did you find your shoes yet?" I don't remember seeing her that morning, so I could only assume that someone saw me and then told her, and if they told her, then others knew. That's it. The social death of me. I want to say that the story has a happy ending and that eventually people forgot and it was just a dumb kid story from my past, but in reality, this was kind of the catalyst for bullying for me in middle school. I don't know if it was directly related, but I ended up getting bullied a lot for being, quote, poor all through 6th and 7th grade, to the point where I almost failed those grades. In 8th grade, a switch flipped in me and I completely stopped caring what others thought or said about me, and my grades took a complete 180. But middle school was actually pretty difficult for me. When I think back on the story from time to time, I can't help but just close my eyes and wince at the choice I made, but it is also a story I look back on and just have to laugh because of how ridiculous it is. How many people do you know don't go to school with their dang shoes on? But do you guys remember any super embarrassing stories like this? I would honestly love to hear them in the comments. But if you're looking to get your life together like I'm trying to do, then obviously there are some great classes that you should check out over on Skillshare, who is the sponsor of this video. If you're new here and haven't heard, Skillshare is an online learning community with so many classes you'll be an old timeless gremlin before you can watch them all. They've got classes on drawing, dancing, painting, and photography. I mean, if you think about any creative profession, they probably have a class on it. Like juggling. I mean, come on, you could quit your job and be a clown. Who doesn't want to be a clown? Okay, maybe you might not want to be a clown, but juggling is still very cool. But anyway, they have new classes that are added every week, subtitles in languages like Spanish, French, Portuguese, and German, and they're completely ad-free, so you can watch your juggling videos without being interrupted. But like I mentioned, if you're like me and you're trying to organize your life as an artist, then I really recommend you check out Brooke Glasser's video, Productivity for Artists, Organizing Yourself for Success. She goes into super important topics like planning, time management, building healthy work habits that will actually stick, and much, much more. If any of that has got you curious for some learning, then head on down to the link in the description and pinned comment. The first 1,000 people to click that link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare so you can explore your creativity. So give it a try. Let me know how learning juggling goes, and thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Before I sign off though, a quick thing about the painting I made for this video. Fairly recent, my husband Tony and I finished watching Arcane and we absolutely loved it. The story is great, the characters are fantastic, but visually it was delicious eye candy. I've been thinking about doing studies from the show since we watched it, so I had to get into it at some point. So for this painting, I decided to do a study of Vi, Jinx's sister. I think the show did a great job at creating flawed and likable human beings. Vi was definitely one of my favorites, so I started with painting her with gouache. Arcane does a great job at showing the lighting and planes of the face, so I tried to capture that here, and I think it turned out alright. But that's it for this story. Like I said, if you have any embarrassing stories that you're brave enough to share, let me know in the comments. As always, videos like this are possible because of my amazing banana members and people like you who like, comment on, and share my videos. I appreciate you all stopping by, and I hope that we can draw together again soon. Bye guys.